And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
All right, we'll start the weekend off with a big area of IFR here over the western Bering, sliding eastward into the central Aleutians. Not too bad here farther to the east with some VFR and some areas of marginal VFR, mostly off the coast. They're off the southwest coast, but catching the Seward Peninsula. IFR along the north slope there into the Brooks Range area, and farther to the north, marginal VFR for the Arctic coast. Big area of IFR here for the eastern interior that extends down into the Alaska Range, Talkeetna Mountains there. Not too bad. So Sitna Valley, VFR, some marginal VFR for the Kenai Peninsula, good VFR for Kodiak Island, and the southeast coast, marginal VFR, some areas of IFR off to the east. And for the afternoon, some VFR showing up here down around Prince of Wales Island and areas toward Dixon Entrance. Otherwise, marginal VFR with some IFR holding on to the northern areas there. Still some IFR here on the east side of the state down to the Alaska Range, and a little bit of marginal VFR into the Talkeetna Mountains, generally becoming VFR here. Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, South Central Alaska, staying VFR Kodiak, and nice VFR here for the central and western interior, even out to the coastline there in the southeastern Bering Sea, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR, Brooks Range, out to the Arctic coast, and a lot of IFR kind of building and advancing slowly eastward here, at least to Atka Island, back to the Komodorskis. Marginal VFR gives way to VFR just east of the Pribilofs, right into the Kuskokwim Delta coast. And for Sunday morning, IFR continues to push eastward here, now covering the eastern Aleutians up to the Pribilof Islands, back to Amchitka or Kiska Island there with good VFR over the interior here. A little bit IFR there from Kivalina up to Cape Lisburne, marginal VFR, North Slope Arctic coast, IFR extending from the eastern Arctic coast right on down the Upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country to the eastern Alaska Range. And the Copper River Basin, mostly VFR, some marginal VFR over to the mountainous areas there in the morning. Good VFR for South Central Alaska, Kodiak Island, and the southeast coast, areas of marginal VFR. And for the Sunday afternoon time, we're looking at good VFR central western part of the state, marginal VFR here for the east side, and mostly VFR now for the southeast coast, so looking really good actually for the day Sunday there. And good VFR here for the eastern Bering Sea from St. Lawrence Island right on down to the Bristol Bay Kodiak area and Alaska Peninsula. And mostly marginal out over the Bering Sea with just some spotty areas of IFR. And for the passes, Anatuvik and Anigan, both looking on the marginal side, especially on the northern entrances of both passes, probably VFR out the south side though. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, looking for a VFR day for the two western Alaska Range passes. A little farther to the north, rainy, kind of a marginal start, could become VFR in the afternoon with the lower conditions early on. And then windy, looks to be IFR throughout the day, as does Isabel and even Mentasta. Mentasta on the southern entrance probably will be better with the lower conditions on the north side. And Tanita, marginal VFR to start, becoming VFR in the afternoon into the evening. And Portage, starting out marginal early on, becoming VFR probably by mid-morning on. And for Chilkoot and White, IFR, looking at the freezing levels, 2,000 feet here down across Bristol Bay and the Aleutian Range to Kodiak Island, and 2,000 to 4,000 feet here over the southeast interior and the southeast coast. And out to the west, system coming eastward here, pulling warmer air out of the northwest Pacific, anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 feet in toward the central Aleutians. And with that warmer air is a slug of moisture here with a widespread area of possible considerable moderate icing, rime icing from Kiska Island eastward to almost Nikolsky. Otherwise, the western interior looking icing free tomorrow with another elevated area of significant icing here over the eastern part of the state, as well as the southeast coast. And the 33,000 foot wind flow chart here showing low pressure dropping into the Gulf of Alaska and west flow 75 knots into the Panhandle, followed by north winds, kind of two jet streams meeting up here. The westerlies at about 115, linking up with this northerly flow at 80 knots coming down out of the Chukchi Sea there. That adds up to about 120 to 150 knots there over the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. And at 9,000 feet, basically the same pattern, low pressure there in the southern Gulf of Alaska, southwesterlies 35 knots across the southeast coast, north to south flow here, a little farther to the east over the western interior, 35 to 40 knots down to the Alaska Peninsula, and the stronger winds just clipping the central Aleutians there at about 65 knots. 3,000-foot winds showing this low in the Gulf with 40-knot winds staying off the Panhandle, strongest winds. In fact, this low is going to shift off to the southeast, and that's going to take most of the precipitation and heaviest winds with it, so it won't be rolling into the southeast coast as they seem to have been here lately. So kind of a change in the pattern here, higher pressure over the eastern Bering Sea, north winds 40 knots there across Bristol Bay, followed by south winds with this system pushing eastward, 40-knot winds into the central Aleutians, a little bit stronger here over the far western Bering Sea. And for turbulence, with those winds, we've got considerable moderate turbulence in the forecast for the central Aleutians, Amchitka Island to the Adak-Atka area, and also for Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, the Alaska Peninsula. Look for considerable moderate turbulence there, and light to isolated moderate for the central coast of the Panhandle.